Well, if we're looking at some of the emotional symptoms, there can be a lot of anxiety that accompanies these conditions. There can be a feeling of panic. There can be heart palpitations, sweating. There can be excessive mood swings and a susceptibility to stress. And I want you to know, if you're experiencing any of this, it's perfectly normal. This susceptibility to stress, based on our hypothesis, is essentially very normal and is part of the overstimulation of our nervous system and immune system. So we believe a lot of these chronic diseases are due to those two systems, our immune system and nervous system, overreacting, and continually causing the chronic symptoms in our body. And so as a part of that, the emotional symptoms are a layer on top. And connected to that, some of the emotional symptoms that many people experience are that general feeling of dread, like a dark cloud hanging over our heads. And that, once again, is perfectly normal. And if you're experiencing that, I want to normalize that as part of having a chronic inflammatory condition. Then in terms of the cognitive difficulties, many people experience difficulty with memory, difficulty thinking or concentrating with that brain fog. And now let's turn our attention to some very common symptoms that often are not talked about in the context of chronic disease. Anhedonia. Now, it's a word you may not have heard of, but anhedonia is this idea that there's a lack of interest in things in life, a lack of ability to enjoy things or take pleasure from life's experiences. You may not want to spend time out of the house or with others or doing activities that previously made you happy. And once again, this is perfectly normal. And we're going to explain in the brain what is going on that's creating anhedonia. Yeah? And what we also may find is our motivation goes down. We find it harder to feel happier to do things. We may feel emotionally numb as well to positive and negative experiences, and may not feel so loving towards others, or may not be able to accept other people's love and care. There's a lack of connection that we may experience, and this may cause challenges in our relationships. And all of these symptoms may actually magnify due to our reaction to them. Okay? So imagine we have two types of symptoms. We have our physical symptoms, and we also have these emotional symptoms. Now, we may magnify those due to our underlying emotional reaction to them and our underlying beliefs about them. And often this magnification may be similar to how we may have processed situations during our childhood. So if we have a background of trauma or adverse childhood experiences, we may process what's going on with us now in a similar way to the way we did as children, because that's the only coping mechanism that we may know. And there's three key ways that these emotional, cognitive, and spiritual symptoms may become magnified. The first is the catastrophizing about them. So when we have these physical symptoms and the emotional symptoms, we may catastrophize and think, this is terrible. I feel awful. Yeah. And we may feel them even more and put them out of context. The second factor is what we call eternalizing the problem. So when we have these types of symptoms, we may feel like they're never going to go away. Yeah, they're going to be here forever. And that's the eternalizing of the situation. So when we have a negative emotion, the mind tends to feel like, I'm going to feel like this forever. That's a natural tendency of the mind because it wants you to do something about it. And remember, we don't want to feel annoyed at our dear beloved minds. This is all overprotection. Our mind is simply becoming more anxious in an attempt to protect us. But the problem is the medicine has become the problem. We're being overprotected. So number one, we catastrophize about our physical and emotional symptoms. Secondly, we eternalize them, thinking they're going to go on forever and there's no way out. And the third aspect of how this magnification occurs is when we feel hopeless and we feel a lack of agency. Agency just simply means, do we have the power to influence and change what is happening to us? We feel everything's hopeless. We can't change it. And these three factors, catastrophizing, eternalizing, and feeling hopeless, can magnify the emotional symptoms within our minds and can really take a toll on our system. So I'd like you to spend a moment to think about, when it comes to your emotional symptoms of spiritual fatigue, the anhedonia, the numbness, the anxiety, the panic, how do you respond to those symptoms? Do you ever catastrophize about them, eternalize them, or feel hopeless, feel like you're going to feel like that forever? And just observe that for the moment.